Okay, well, hello everyone, and welcome to another of our quick presentations outlining and introducing Project Cane water quality monitoring. So this particular presentation will be giving a quick overview of how Project Cane water quality monitoring is in some ways different, but also integrated into some of the other fairly substantial water quality monitoring occurring across the Lower Herbert district. So how are our Project Cane sites different to other water quality monitoring conducted in the region? This is probably a fairly useful question because for better or worse, depending on your perspective, the Lower Herbert is probably one of the most intensively monitored catchments in terms of water quality across much of Queensland, if not Australia. And I'll start with a big part of that, which is an overview of the Queensland Government Water Quality Monitoring Network. Now, the Queensland Government Department of Environment and Science has recently rolled out, in some ways, a trial network of nitrogen sensing stations across the Lower Herbert as part of a program called the RP232 project. And these are all the sites here you can see in the green pins, hopefully on this Google Earth image of the Lower Herbert catchment. So this is the township of Ingham about here. And you can see the quite wide spatial coverage. Most of these sites are quite new, only installed and becoming operational in the last year or so. Some of them, like the Herbert River here at John Roe Bridge, they've been part of long-term end of catchment water quality loads monitoring for 20 or 30 years, conducted by various different organisations, but Queensland Government for the last few years or so. So quite an extensive network there. All of these sites are collecting data now using nitrate sensors, basically in real time. And where can we see this data? If I get out of this presentation and jump onto the internet, if you jump on the HCPSL website here and come to the Water Quality Management portal, I've covered this before. But you can jump onto this website here, which has been developed by CSIRO and used by a number of different organisations, and basically jump down onto the Lower Herbert district here and jump in and have a look at a whole range of the water quality monitoring as it's occurring at all of these sites basically in real time. And the data will look something like this. So you'll have your nitrate, nitrogen concentrations and your stream height through time. So our Project Cane sites, which I've got on this slide here, represented in the yellow pins, they're very similar in many ways. So a very similar monitoring concept, almost identical equipment. All of the data is getting fed up into and stored in real time. And but with a lot of consultation with industry, we've designed this program to complement or integrate with that broader Queensland water quality monitoring, Queensland Government water quality monitoring network in many ways. So we've done things like tried to fill in some of the gaps, so focusing on creeks and drainage lines or land uses that are not being monitored as part of the Queensland Government program. We've added some extra sites to monitored catchments to hopefully provide some additional spatial detail or clarity in some of the middle reaches of catchments being monitored by Queensland Government. And we're even trying to monitor groundwater quality in some catchments using these nitrate sensors in areas where our things like the soil type mean that you don't tend to get or see a lot of surface water runoff. So we're looking at groundwater in those cases. So very similar in some ways, but kind of coming at it from a different direction and trying to make the data more relevant for cane farmers. So where can you see this Project Cane data? At this point, you can't. But the intent is that the data associated with Project Cane will eventually go live in public, probably on much the same water quality online resources as that Queensland Government data that I've already mentioned. But we have factored in that delay of up to 6 months, just because we wanted to make sure all of our gear was working as close to optimally as possible, because you can sort of refine some of the equipment and sensors that you put in there and change sensors in and out with different specifications and things depending on the background water quality. But also really importantly, we wanted to provide a bit of a lead-in period with local landholders in each of those catchments, just to explain the data, what we're doing, how it looks, how to provide a little bit of introduction and communication on how to interpret it and what it all means. So the Tropwater team will also be doing, the more traditional shed meetings and other things like meetings with local groups to help explain the data and provide some additional interpretation and things like that. And also get feedback, very importantly, from local landholders, because that often really helps us as water quality scientists interpret the data that we collect and that we find at a local level, and getting that sort of local knowledge on the history of the area and what's been happening in the last 6 months or 6 years. So it's not just important from a farmer's perspective, this sort of two-way engagement, but also important for water quality scientists too. I'll probably just wrap things up here and keep it short and sweet, but emphasise that the plan is to do a series of these sorts of short presentations through time. We'll be doing things like working through some of the results across sites, some of the patterns that we're seeing across the catchment, other little points of interest. But I'd encourage anyone that's interested in seeing this sort of thing, or things that you think you've seen, or questions that you want answered, talk to myself or HCPSL, contact them and give them your thoughts, because good feedback can really help us develop future material and presentations on topics and issues that are of interest to stakeholders, which is what we're really trying to promote and develop with these programs. So thanks for your time.